Local 12 digital sports columnist and Bengals beat writer Richard Skinner. Skinny, here we are outside of the practice fields and a pretty busy one. They're getting the grass ready, but it's not going to be used anytime soon because, well, we're still in a league shutdown and we don't know when they're going to resume.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to try to review this process May 15th. We'll see where we're at. I don't think we've made probably enough progress to get to a point where you get some live players in action. I mean, obviously training camp is still in question at this point, so it's still virtual workouts, which makes it pretty tough when you're trying to get a rookie quarterback up to speed quickly.
You're not just talking a rookie quarterback, you're talking a second-year head coach, you're talking a few new pieces on that offensive line that'll directly affect that quarterback. How much of a detriment is this to the Bengals franchise right now?
I think it is really, really tough. It's tough, obviously, on every franchise, but especially when you're talking about the new pieces you're talking about. I talked to a former quarterback in the league, and he says, I can't imagine, even if I knew all the pieces around me, trying to establish, hey, I hit my drop here and throw the ball at this point. My lineman can do this. Running plays even, knowing some of the flow of that and just doing and going through the process of doing some of that. Now, you're not doing all of that probably the first couple of weekends of May anyway. You're just kind of getting a feel for it. But I think it is going to be tough for the Bengals to get up to speed, especially with a new quarterback and some new pieces up front.
Now, thankfully with technology, they're able to you can email the playbook, you can try to get guys up to speed, but that really, as you said, only goes so far. What do you think can be done right now, at least with Joe Burrow and all the pieces?
Well, it was funny on the Zoom call with Zach Taylor after the draft. That question kind of came up of, how do you get these guys ready now? He said, listen, get your girlfriend, get your mother, get somebody who's allowed around you, get some cones set up, some chairs set up, and honestly, you kind of have to hope that there's somebody to throw the football to. That maybe on certain routes, if Joe can see that, hey, on this third foot, I got to get it out to this spot. He can work on some of those things, but you're not going to get timing down with A.J. Green because you're not throwing to A.J. Green. You're not going to get timing down with Tyler Boyd. You're not throwing to Tyler Boyd. You're not going to get timing down on a running play where you're supposed to hand it off to, how your footwork's supposed to go. So I think it's very, very difficult. The fear would be if you don't get any kind of training camp or real training camp other than a week or two to get things ready. We're still early enough in where, as you mentioned, you can go through the virtual playbook. You can learn some of the terminology. You can learn where people are supposed to go and probably where you're supposed to go with it, but you can't simulate real action.
What you said, we're early enough in this process that it might not be a detriment long term. What do you think that point of no return is where it starts to become a problem?
If we have a very minimal training camp. I mean, if you have, I'd say, 2 weeks of training camp and maybe a preseason game, then I think you're really in a tough spot. Because, look, the first thing that's going to go, right, is going to be training camp cut back. And we're going to know that probably sooner rather than later. I guess the optimist in me says, as we sit here today, there could still be the June mini camp that they could do. If we find out that's whacked, then the next one is training camp itself. I would hope the way things are trending that you will get a full training camp in. This will be a moot point for that. But yeah, I think you've got to at least have a couple of weeks of camp and at least a preseason game to get up to speed. Because look, there's the point of no return right now. He is your starting quarterback. That's been clear cut really since the day they clinched that first draft pick, and now you got to get him ready.
NFL schedules are going to come out on Thursday. Are you expecting anything interesting with the Bengals?
I know it's been reported that potentially what they're going to do with these schedules is backload them where the division opponents are at the back end, all the conference opponents are at the back end. The Bengals this year, the interconference opponents they play from the NFC are all NFC East teams. So perhaps you'll see that first 4 games will be all of them just in case you have to cut the schedule back. Then at least everybody's going to have the same level. Everybody in the AFC will play the AFC. You'll play everybody in your division. And you keep whittling back the further you go if you have to go that route. I think the other interesting thing is, will they get more than one primetime game? That's all they got last year. They got a Monday night game. I would assume they're not going to skip on Thursday on back-to-back years. I think they'll get a couple, maybe 3, a Thursday, a Sunday, a Monday. But that's the other exciting thing, is to see with Joe Burrow and this new team how many primetime games this club gets.
Well, we know they're not going to London or Mexico City because the NFL canceled those games. But still, well, nothing's going on the practice fields. At least we got some Bengals to talk about.